Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we convene our fourth of 5 programs on urgent care for urgent times. Before we launch in, I want to continue my reflections on what is unfolding in Gaza as the Israeli war against Palestine enters into its fourth, almost fifth month. Another several dozen Palestinians were killed, apparently just almost randomly as starvation sets in, as the UN food trucks are held at the border, as mobs are now breaking through various police lines when the trucks are coming and being shot at, and the situation is now so dangerous that the UN hasn't resumed its trucks into northern Gaza because of the Israeli bombings and Israeli snipers. So the situation in Gaza is now radically deteriorating with constant shelling and now the onset of people actually dying now of starvation. At the same time, in The Hague, the International Court of Justice continues to hear in succession 52 nations that have come out in support of the condemnation of Israel for its occupation of Palestine, now going into its sixth decade and the longest occupation in modern history, and one of the most brutal ever in history, given what the Palestinians have had to endure. What is striking about the testimony today by the Irish, it was really powerful if you watched it, is the way now they're linking not only Israel, but the United States as the two powers that are transacting this occupation arm in arm and in complete alliance with each other. So it's an indictment not only against Israel, but it's an indictment against the United States, which issued its third veto day before yesterday in the Security Council, blocking yet again what the entire rest of the world knows is needed, and that is an immediate ceasefire. So the U.S. and Israel are in active complicity in terms of their genocide. I want to continue our story about the development of Hamas. I took the story yesterday up to 1956 when the young Ron Giza, 8 years old, watched nearly 250 men summarily executed right in front of his eyes, including his uncle. This severely traumatized him, even though he went on to become a brilliant student, a pediatrician, graduating first in his class, very soft-spoken man. And I'll resume that story. But I wanted to give also some milestones. You know, it really took the massacre in 1956 until the Palestinians really woke up to the fact that they were being decimated and that they needed to organize in some coherent way against the British and Zionist legacy. So in 1957, a Palestinian named Yasser Arafat from the West Bank started an organization called Fatah. 1968, the Arab League started the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which Fatah quickly established dominance in. And the PLO began to organize as best it could at that time Palestinian resistance. But the power of the Israelis was so overwhelming that really nothing was possible. The Israelis, starting in the 1950s, engaged in what they called mowing the lawn, where they would come in and just bomb and shoot as many civilians as they possibly could by the hundreds and the thousands. I'll be detailing some of them in a moment. And finally, in 1987, there was what they call the first intifada, that just in a spontaneous uprising. Activists in both the West Bank and Gaza rose up against the Israelis, mostly just throwing stones because they didn't have any weapons. And it was at that time, in around 1987, that Hamas was started as an extension initially of the Muslim Brotherhood from Egypt. And then some complicated events happen around the Oslo Accords, as they're called, which was really a very skillful maneuvering by Israel and the United States and Norway and the great Caucasian powers of Europe to essentially cajole the PLO into becoming the Palestinian Authority. So no sovereignty was extended, even though the PLO in 1974 had agreed in a very, very dramatic way to accept that the Israelis had taken the land that they had taken. There was nothing they could do about it. So very begrudgingly, they began to talk about a two-state solution. That didn't do any good. And then the Oslo Accords happened. The Israelis continued to build settlements and erect all kinds of barriers, both in terms of rights, travel between the West Bank and Gaza and inside the West Bank. And that erupted in that first intifada in 1987, in the aftermath of which the Oslo Accords basically maneuvered the Palestinians into what it has become. And that is just an administrative tool of Israeli occupation. The PLO was, collected the trash and collected the taxes and received all the aid from the United Nations and the US, simply to become an extension of the Israeli security forces. Even to the present day, it's the Palestinian administration that really beats up the protesters and reports all the espionage, the intelligence they're getting, so that the PLO essentially became an extension of Israeli occupation. And it was within this context that the young radicals of Hamas began to take real action. Their first tactic was just fighting the tanks when they were in, and then they began to engage in suicide bombing. They would somehow sneak into Israel or in front of Israeli tanks or soldiers and blow themselves up. And sometimes, a dozen or sometimes 20 Israelis would be killed and wounded. But the Hamas, like the PLO, had no weapons to speak of. They occasionally would have a Kalashnikov, although as they got more sophisticated, they began to be able to smuggle in weapons from outside of Gaza and the West Bank. There was another intifada in 2000 that was provoked when the Israeli General Ariel Sharon went up into the Temple Mount with his troops and supporters and stopped the Palestinians from worshiping in their holiest shrine. the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the western part of Jerusalem. And so that is when Hamas became even stronger and more radical, saying that we're not willing to accept a two-state solution. This land was stolen. It should be given back. And we're going to fight by every means at our disposal until the Israelis give up. Clearly, that didn't happen, but Hamas continued to agitate as the Israelis became more and more coercive. And then in 2006, where I'll stop for today, there was an election in the West Bank and Gaza that was overseen by Jimmy Carter and his presidential library and judged to be a fair, honest election. And it was at that time, in 2006, that Hamas got most of the votes. And this came as a shock to the Israelis and to the Americans and certainly to the PLO. But the way that the Palestinian Liberation Organization had become just an extension of Israeli occupation, unbelievably corrupt, was sufficient to radicalize the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza. And at that point, Hamas won. And we'll continue the story, which leads directly to October 7th of 2023, when we reconvene tomorrow. But what I want to emphasize is the organic nature of Palestinian resistance. After 40, 50 years of suppression by the British, by the Zionists, by the Americans and the Europeans, and the partition, and just beaten down into less than 25% at that time of what had been Palestine. The Israelis bulldozing the 450 villages that had been populated by 750,000 Palestinians, which were forced into the West Bank and Gaza. And it took them a number of years into the 1950s and 60s before they realized that they needed to really pay attention, because they were about ready to be exterminated. And that's what gave rise to the PLO. And then ultimately, when the PLO did not deliver, but was corrupted, Hamas rose to the ascendancy. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Humanity Rising, as we continue each day to look at world events as they transpire, while we also continue our programs, in this case, urgent care for urgent times. And within this context, I want to welcome Dehanna Rice, our convener, well known to all of you in Humanity Rising, who will talk about the urgent care provided by the Tarot. So thank you, Dehanna. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jim. This is such important historic commentary. We really appreciate what you offer each opening. Thank you. Today, we are going to continue about urgent care with the universal field, the information that we get from the universe's wisdom. This is an old ancient model of the tarot, but I'm going to describe it a little bit more as I introduce my great friend, Miriam Jacobs. But I want to start with a little practice for everyone, because it is about urgent care. And I'm a polarity therapist, energy-based worker. I want to give you something each day to really calm the nervous system, bring yourself into centered place. And we're going to do a little bit of physicality for our heads and our face and the stress that we hold every day. I started a little bit of the practice yesterday with my mentors, Doctors Richard Brown and Patricia Gerbarg, and I want to continue that because we're online so much and we need to reduce the stress of taking in all of the radiation that we're constantly being bombarded with. So I encourage you to, if you have glasses, to take them off. Ground yourself by placing your feet flat on the floor, both feet. And we're going to start by just rubbing our hands together, bringing energy into our hands. We're going to do some Qigong for the face. And we're going to open up some of the energy in the cranium. So when you feel warmth in your hands, that's an indication that you have energy. And we're going to do something called palming. So once you feel that warmth, I want you to place your palms in a cupped hand over your eyes and really allow the tissue of the whole eye area to relax with that warmth. The warmth of the energy in your hands. And I want you to imagine a beautiful black velvet curtain. And any image that comes into that curtain is your mind speaking in pictures for today, for this moment. What's going on inside of you? This is the mind again, a language that's in the present moment right now. Allowing that image to come to you. We can talk a little bit about the images later. And take a nice deep breath in and open your jaw, making a sound ha. Releasing your hands. Take another deep breath in. Open your jaw and make a sound ha. Now let's rub them again together, bringing more heat into the hands. And we're going to place them on the sides of our nose. And we're going to use our baby fingers, which is the heart meridian end, in a vertical movement on the sides of your face. But it's a midline of your face that I want those baby fingers to really dig into the forehead. Really feel that vigorously. This is our frontal lobe, executive decisions, so much work all the time. And spread them out and down your jaw and let go. Take another deep breath in, make a sound, ha. Feel any changes in the face, in the mind. Another deep breath in, make a sound, ha. Our throat expression is also grief. We let that go when we make sounds. So important to let the energy of our bodies and mind come to that center and let go. Lastly, for Qigong, I want you to place your fingers and hands on the forehead, on top of each other. And you're going to go from one side of the forehead to the other with the horizontal movement of your hands, rubbing that frontal lobe. Remember, this is the executive frontal lobe function. So you're rubbing that energy into the frontal lobe, allowing it to move into the brain, releasing any tension. Back and forth on that horizontal plane. Taking another deep breath in, your fingers are in the midline and drag them across as you make a sound, ha, all the way to the ears. Another midline, breathing in, and drag the fingers as you exhale, ha. And let's go right into the ear area. We're cupping our hands and we're making like as if you can hear a shell at the ocean, that sound. And you're circling back towards the back of the head. Just gently rotating your hands. giving yourself that nurturing energy, our hands of electromagnetic energy, and it's moving into our brains, relaxing with our intention. Beautiful. And let's stop at the ears and just pull them out a little bit, the temporal bones, giving some space with the cranium. And to the lower lobes, we're pulling them downward. Beautiful. And let's just come on to our necks and drag our hands over the clavicles, those collarbones, and make a sound of whooshing sound. This is releasing the triple warmer. Beautiful. One more. And lastly, drag one hand to from the opposite shoulder, the opposite hip on an X on your body, and drag that off. Opposite shoulder to the opposite hip. One more time. Dig in your hands or fingers as you drag them across. One more time. Dig in and drag them across. Beautiful. Let's just shake that off. Feel the difference in your upper body, your head, shoulders, neck. Beautiful. So now I want to introduce my good friend, Miriam Jacobs. She is the creator of a groundbreaking polarity wellness tarot deck, the award-winning author of Tarot and the Chakras, which is for new dimensions to healers, and Tarot in Motion, which we're going to do today. And she is a former art teacher that taught many years in New York. And she's now in the Bay Area as an energy-based body worker. We're both polarity therapists. That's how I got to know her. And a tarot card reader for many years and dance enthusiast. So welcome, Miriam.
Welcome, Dehanna. Thank you so much for having me. I am so glad to be part of this and introducing a little bit more of how you can use intuition, because right now that's what we have to go by. And yet then, well, what part of the intuition do we listen to? So for me, I have found that tarot was a really great way. Tarot is it's ancient, its exact origins are shrouded in mystery. And this is because is it from ancient Egypt? Is it from the Renaissance? Is it from there's so many different things that this could be from. Is it from the Kabbalah? Is it symbolic book of life? But what I have found in helping others is that it's a way that we can help tap into our intuition. It's a way where we can really focus in. Now, the questions have also evolved. So I am not going to tell you your future. My way of reading tarot is super influenced by my my polarity therapy background.
Right. And that's what was so fascinating when I met you, is that you built a model that's somatic with the tarot for first, because I'd never heard of that, and that you're a polarity therapist. So can you talk a little bit about the parallel with tarot and polarity?
Well, both systems are connected by universal elements. They are connected by ancient forms of healing, Ayurveda and the likes, and what happened, and astrology. And so polarity gives astrological aspects to the body, and tarot also has a connection. So this goes back to how I learn, and how I learn isn't by just reading and memorizing or even complete intuition. It's sort of in between. So that in between is kind of like, what I would do is I would make charts. And for years I was I would say I was kind of like a closet tarot card reader. And then all of a sudden, I realized that there was this connection. So I started making charts and I saw that the connection was working. And I also found that thanks to a tarot card reading, I moved to California from New York City. And I started using tarot in California. I just wanted to get people out of their heads so I could do body work, and the body work would stick, or so that they weren't just thinking of what it was. And so I started pulling cards, and sometimes questions would be revealed. Sometimes it just shed light on the system. So with this and with now, there's probably hundreds of decks, and these are all people's intuition of this ancient system. So this ancient system, then I saw connected to the chakras, it connected to the elements, it connected to astrology, anything that's universal, anything that's been around. And then there's people who write books and make pictorials from the cards. And what I found is that the kind of question to ask that works the best is an existential question. So sometimes this can just like point you in the right direction. It can also ask, and as a polarity therapist, I'm going to say something like, how do I best approach this situation with ease? And what do I need to know right now? It's nice if people are there and they can pull cards, but if not, there's something about being online and doing that where I can either have people pull cards, like I can, pull them out and ask people to pull to which card do I pull in, but mostly I think there's some sort of connection, and that's what we're kind of looking for. And so even if you don't know what's going on in the world, and if you just listen to Jim, or if you're any part of Humanity Rising, that you're aware of what's going on. And this is just going to affect us. It's going to affect people who go, I'm not listening to the root. So everything is coming up. So I am a healer. And what I want to do is to use the tarot as a somatic mirror. And the deck, the Polarity Wellness deck, which is somatic, so it's in the body. I believe that however we experience things, if it's spirit, if it's mind, if it's in body, if it's somehow we can embody those lessons, which is what we'll do with Tarot in Motion with Dehanna, who, is a gorgeous dancer. So, we can't go, we can't
Well,
surpass that, but any kind of movement can be
right.
considered dance.
Yeah, that's what we're going to demo today. We hadn't done that last time. Miriam was on a couple of other times, and I really want to move. I'm always moving. That's my stress reduction. But to do it with the cards and the wisdom, the universal wisdom through the cards, I have to just tell one story of working with you over the years, because normally I don't pull cards that are air oriented. And for the audience, the air current is mental chatter. It's a movement that happens around us. It's very quick movement. And I pulled this four of, air, and I'm like, this can't be right. I was during COVID, and I'm like, I'm not that air, I'm not, my mind is fine. I feel pretty relaxed, and so I put it back in the deck and I shuffled it again, and I pulled the exact card again. And I said to myself, wow, the field of energy around the tarot, the wisdom, was just like reconfirming, what? The cards know more than you. They really are resonating with your energy, showing you exactly where it is. And from then on, I was like humbled. I was humbled about the cards. So we're going to go ahead.
Just one more thing, and even the most renowned tarot card readers will tell you, we don't know why this works. I mean, I believe it works, and I believe the dance works as well, because it's structured on a system. And somehow, I mean, it's kind of like ironic, but structure sets us free. We need that to express ourselves and to be expressed to other people.
Right.
And there's an energetic thing that happens that's once it's said, then it gets expressed and it makes which Dehanna talks about is that this energetic connection. So this is going to speak to the depths of our being, and I'm going to pull cards for Dehanna for her questions. And, with Dehanna, we won't do this. Maybe I believe Shannon is also going to come on. We're going to see what she does, pulls cards. And usually I just talk to the people, whoever it is, and then that whatever stands out in my mind comes up again. And I believe that anyone can use this system, whatever deck you use. Mine happens to relate to the body. So
Okay, well,
Dehanna,
let's dive into it. Let's sometimes your words aren't matching with your audio with the screen, Miriam. So I don't know what's going about. And then it catches up for some reason. Everybody having the same response and looking at the screen.
And that could be my internet connection. I'm not sure because it seems to be working. But what I'm going to say is then just go with it and then just trust that you're going to get what you want to get. And I'll speak as close to my computer as possible.
Okay, great. So let's do it. My question is really for the world, peace, and the balance points of the human experience right now. I just have to bring you up to speed for the 3 days that we've been already on with urgent care. And some of the things that have come up was that collectively there's just rage and anger on the planet. Because I totally feel this way, and I'm sure a lot of people watching feel that we just are powerless with what's going on. Certainly Jim's talk starting out has, always fueled a lot of, what is our human beings doing to each other? Why are we still repeating patterns of total destruction and hurt and pain for generations, the trauma that's happening on the planet? So for me, it's like, I want to know about peace. I want to know about what is it for my inner peace and what is part of that journey for me to look at.
So what I am going to reframe your question, and I am going to pull 3 cards, one at a time. One is then for how do you best approach what's happening in the world, and then for your community. So this community could be for the humanity rising, and then one for your personal self. And what stands out for me, so what I'm going to do, sorry for interrupting myself, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull cards that will also be for everyone too, because if you're here witnessing then you're going to do it. So the reframe of the question is going to be, how do you best approach your rage in the world? Does that sound right?
Definitely our response collectively is rage and anger.
Okay. So, and then this changes as I go on. So what I pulled is the 8 of air, the 8 of swords. And so this card relates to Gemini, and it's air, so it's your thoughts. And sort of strangely enough, the air center is your heart center. So it's not, even though air is about questions. And what the 8 of air is about, it's about shoulders. So when you move, I'm going to have you do some shoulder work. And with that, you're going to, this is about thinking that you're trapped. Okay. And for you, in terms of the world, it's also, I believe that the air cards are a lot about trust. And then the trust is trusting that, knowing that what you are doing is making a difference. So, it's like that 100th monkey thing. If it's is that everybody trusts and everybody sees where they're not really trapped, that they, in this case, that you can make a difference and you can then kind of like hold on. I believe that then, your shoulders are where you're holding a lot of that stress and where a lot of that needs to be released. So everybody, when, Deanna comes on, make sure that you get some of that shoulder movement in with what she's trying to do with bringing all of this into the body. And then it's like it comes to the heart and keeping your heart open. And so it's like when those thoughts come in, whether they're about the world, in this case about the world, like, oh no, what do we do? All of that you just go and you kind of like make sure that your heart is open and that you can do this through that.
Beautiful. Yep, that makes sense.
And
And breathe. Thank you,
I just
Shannon.
see Shannon say breathe.
Yeah.
And I apologize if I'm doing this. I really, I just saw one comment from Shannon. I cannot look at the comments, so I
Yeah.
apologize. Okay, so so that's the world. So knowing
Right.
you're not trapped, that what you're doing is making a difference. And breathe.
Breathe.
Breath. The breath diva breathes. So, okay, so on the community,
Mm-hmm.
and what do you want to know right now about serving your community? Does that sound good, or do you want to reframe it a little bit differently?
I just think relief for the community, the Humanity Rising communities in 40 plus countries and so much great work that we offer around the world and finding relief from the stressors.
This is so funny because you talked about how you didn't get air cards.
And now I'm getting all these air
I'm
cards.
pulling the 10 of air. And the 10 of air it's like the 10 is another card relating to Gemini shoulders, and it's Sun in Gemini, and there's different moves. So far, what we have is we have moderate movement for all of these cards. And this is just for Deanna. I won't read the cards like this for Shannon, but this is like, then you're at the end of this. You're at the end of your worry about what you need to do and how you need to do that, and breathe and take a moment to go into your heart, because this card also, I also want to point out that these cards, tarotists have different interpretations of cards.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's what they connect to, and that's what they're getting you. So the cards, when the cards are read, they're just like they're generalized for each card from what that person connects to. In this case, sometimes this is like an over dramatized versions. So again, it's like telling you to cool all those thoughts in your head. And maybe because, I know you, and I know you've like worked really hard on this work. And I'm like, okay, so when am I going to get to see you? And you're like, after this week, and so this part is then that this
Yeah.
is coming to the end of this worry. And this is also speaking to everyone here, is just to, like listen to all of this, and yes, and hear it, and where do you feel it in your body, and then move out of it
Mm.
and let it go. Okay, and so
Yeah, let go the stress, let go, come into the heart, breathe into the lungs, give yourself some space. Calming the breath always does that. Slow the breath down, that coherent breathing. So good for our brains and hearts and body.
Okay. And then, I mean, this is where, like, to me, tarot is like, I have all the cards spread out and they're
Uh-huh.
all mixed up. And so what do I do when Deanna's talking? I pull the 9 of air. So a lot of times in tarot, so right now they are all minor arcana cards. They're not, there's 22 major arcana, and there's
Right.
sometimes, and then there's the elementals. And sometimes, like I did, is I had air. It's again, so what we have is we have 8, 9, and 10. And all of these cards then are relating. Here it is. Here's your air.
Can't
So
believe it.
hey, you are in your head, right? With all of this, and not that that's a judgment or anything. And so the 9 is about it's a little different. Sometimes the cards that are right next to each other, like 8, 9, and 10, in this case, they're kind of a similar evolution of what the mind does to us.
Mm,
Even though it's the mind in our hearts. And so
mm,
what that does is it's going to just evolve it, and it's going to evolve this that then, and this is what just comes to me with having that background and into my own tuition is then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the community, that for you, the community and connecting to the community is what's going to end then your personal nightmares, and then you know, your thoughts now are thoughts that you can break loose of around this. And I have the privilege of knowing a lot of decks, and a lot of times the picture on the 8 is a woman who's like surrounded by swords, and then her hands, and you can see her hands behind her back are tied, but they're loosely tied. And so that means that you can get out of this,
mm.
right? So
Yeah.
you can get out of your thoughts and your concerns. And then I then pulled a card, and here's goes with your fire, and this is other people, and it's Jim, maybe it's the king of fire. I don't know, maybe it's someone else. I'm kind of bringing some silliness into it. Is that like hook into that fire and change that fire, change that anger that you're talking about and that rage, and focus it, because then we have the airs on focus, the airs on when you think you're trapped, and when you're over dramatizing what that is, and then the 9 where you're like nightmares. Literally a lot of the pictures of the 9, the pictorial versions of that is someone like waking up from nightmares. So all of this is like connecting to your community and
Mhm.
connecting to those who have fire and those who have passion. Whenever I hear Jim talk, no matter what he is talking about, what it is that there's passion behind it. And again, I apologize. I can't see what everybody's
Oh
saying.
no, that was funny. Jack said, "Is that insinuating Deanna's an airhead?"
Well,
Well, I guess
if it is, then what she has to do is use that airheadedness to benefit. Because
right.
if you listen to that, there is some stuff, but there it is. There's a joke. There it
Yeah.
is. Whatever Jack,
Yeah.
whatever made you say that, it made Deanna laugh. And if you laugh, then you're just going to go into your body a little bit more. And in this
True.
case, it's shoulders, and then it's also then connect to the fire. So the fire cards are then it's going to be
Right.
in polarity. This relates back to astrological and all of my court cards, which are the people cards. So, and it's an aspect of yourself, and it's Aries forehead, it's Leo solar plexus, and it's Sagittarius thighs. And so polarity has a lot of those exercises that have
Yeah.
to do with, ooh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
start doing Sagittarius, your
Yeah,
thigh.
that's funny. In the last 2 days, I'm like, I'm going to do that brushing off of my, fire, the thighs. So I do a lot of polarity yoga for clients. And I was
Okay,
like, you
so
need that.
so what I want to point out is, and then this is where tarot comes into play, because Jack, thanks Jack, made a said something jokingly, and then we're talking about the thighs, and Deanna and I then just had a connect, and it's like an aha movement. Oh, I can move out of this. So it
Mhm.
is for Deanna, who's connected to her body and who likes that, but to get out of all of those things with your head and,
Right.
just to, you know, to go through this is to do some of those those,
Yeah.
which, maybe you can show everyone
Yeah, thigh brushing. Yeah. People have asked me over the years in workshops, what can I do to move energy the quickest? And I always do thigh brushing. That's
Yeah.
it. It's your fire in your body, the lowest negative pull of it. So you want to move them. That's why movement's so important. Walking, running, anything with your thighs. That's the whole point of movement. So we'll definitely do some demo of that too. Cool.
Okay. So thank you. So what we're going to do, Deanna's going to come back on and she's going to show you a movement piece. And there's something that happens when you get seen by doing a tarot in motion piece, that not only do you feel it in your body, but you also then notice what happens with that you get seen. And getting seen, getting witness, being
Witnessed.
witnessed is just so important. And energetically, it completes the energetic field.
Right. Cool.
That's super important. So we're going to bring her back on in a little while. She's going to get some props, and then the screen is going to be your stage. But
Okay.
okay, but let's bring Shannon on. Okay.
Yes, Shannon has a question. I asked her to, think of a question. So I'll see you soon.
And unmute, please. Okay.
There we go.
And again, and remember, if I cut in and out, then and Mercury is not in retrograde, but maybe my internet is that then, so how are you doing, Shannon? I can't hear you though.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. I'm very well. Thank you, Miriam. And it's wonderful to share the screen with you.
Yeah, thanks. And so, and what's going on in general?
I use the state. I'm busier than a one-armed paper hanger in a hurricane. And it's amazing what's going on, and I'm having the time of my life.
I love that. So then and I see from you're publishing.
I am. I've got Jim's Nuggets that wants to come out. That's his morning, his opening comments from last season. I put them on a blog, and now I'm putting the blog into a book, make it available to the community. And I'm also talking about the book of Mom, which is The Magic in Ordinary Moments. And Mom is my guide. And I play with Mom. I dance with Mom. I see her in sets and sequences of numbers, and all sorts of other things. And it came from feeling very ordinary as I was growing up. And a fight with that. I kind of wanted to be ordinary, but I didn't want to be ordinary. And it's just this tussle. And then I realized the magic that was going on in my life. And by making those stories, I have become a storyteller. And so I now have the Book of Mom coming out.
That's beautiful. That's good. So Mom is magic of ordinary moments. So are you a mom?
No, well,
You forgot to do that.
Well, actually, Miriam, that's one of my moms. I gave my son up when I was 22, my only son, and I wouldn't give him the family name, my brother and my grandfather, but when he found me, when he was 40 years old, he found me on Facebook and said, "Hi, I think you're my birth mom." And he turned out to have been given the family name.
I have the chills.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, let's pull some cards. Okay, so we can do the same thing in whichever order you want in terms of the and I don't know then if you have a different question, but let's see how it fits into whether it fits in or not.
So the question that I came up with was, well, I was given a vision for the transformation of human society, and I'm not a planner. I give the power to mom. So I've written a website, and it's Our Heart Gardens. Community gardens where we get together and grow good food and good kids. And by coming together, we use the synergy of our diversity and create the things that we need within our own community and not have to depend on the structures of highways and, transportation. So I call it OGs. And my question was about the future of the manifestation of OGs in the world.
How do you best, not how to the world? Because what I want to do is I want to go and empower you. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So how do you best? All right, so what we have here is we have a major arcana card, so it's the judgment card. And so this is trusting. It's a little water oriented and a little bit of, from your pelvis, but the judgment card is like this. Sometimes it's called like the aeon. So it's like this bolt of lightning, this idea that you have that is incredibly powerful. And so what I'm doing here with Shannon is I'm just affirming any, dispelling and affirming what you're doing is like on the right path. Because I know like you work really hard, you show up on Humanity Rising a lot. I always see you if I'm, and I never comment or anything, but that this idea that you have is a really good brewing idea, and I love your stories. Like just in the few minutes that we talked, that there were a lot of stories that you gave, and that these stories were they were like pretty wonderful, and I remember them. So, I'm going to say make sure that you have those stories in what you're giving out to the world, and so I think that this is where sometimes tarot, you get what you need. Like you're asking about the gardens, but I'm really going along with the books and with the publishing, because publishing is, what I said about publishing when I was asked to write my first book, which, I was someone who I majored in art, so I wouldn't have to write papers. And then I'm writing this book, and it was making muscles that I didn't have, not just stretching ways in that you never thought. And so it's still a journey. And I believe that you're coming at the end of this journey. And I'm going to side a little bit. Do you have a publisher?
Do
Do you want to publish
working
it?
with someone.
Okay, good. All right, great.
But
Okay, so
Miriam, we are open. We're
okay. Well, connect with me later. Okay.
come to the
So
afternoon.
this is about you have to go forward with this book on that level. Okay. And I could probably go on another 20 minutes of just what I'm seeing in this card for you. And because you mentioned your son, I think that was like it's important that that energetic, that connection has happened wherever it goes.
Well, he wove me back into the fabric of reality. You know,
He
I
wove
was a
you
loose
back
end.
into the fabric of reality. Okay, that's for everybody. Okay. All right. So now let's do one on then that was sort of like the world, right? Okay, I think. And tell me if that's incorrect. And then how about your smaller community? So this can be humanity rising community, or it could be, your smaller like family community.
Well, I would like it for I know my Humanity Rising family, and I'm proud of you, and I love you so much, but I am not well grounded in my community here. And we have an opportunity for our heart gardens to be grounded here in Kamloops. I would really like to see that facility happen. And
Okay.
I'm wondering.
So here what we have is the seven of water, or the seven of cups. So that is it's Venus in Virgo. It's again your lower body. Now, this is a card for me that has changed, and it's kind of up on my mind because I saw someone's blog who's a tarotist who like had such a the other day, and she's not right. She was like, she thought of this card as being confusion, and I have never thought of that card as confusion, except that for a long time it meant like trying to like fantasize. But for me, this card is really about upping the ante. You know how up the ante is sort of like if you reach for the moon, maybe you'll get to the top of the trees, and getting to the top of trees will be far. So this is asking you to not just even go in the success of this book, and I think it was Stan who pointed some of this out, is not just go for the stars. Let's go up your ante, up your fantasy of going for like the galaxies, is for whatever work that you're doing and whatever passion and whatever you love in that is to bring that all together. Okay, bring it all together. And, you still have to be clear on whether you're fantasizing or reality. You have to keep that in check, but keep this really together. And then again, I glanced at a little bit of what Stan wrote as that came up, is this weaving it together. And so this is about like going forthright. And both of these cards so far have to do with water. So what you're a lot of about, and I notice, I can't help but notice that your background is water, so the water is connection, and that's where you're connecting. And this is also going to for everybody else, is that in our community, it is so important. However we do it, with it doing in a garden, maybe because today is sunny out, I'll get to go into my garden a little bit, and garden is just so important to feel the earth. So every aspect about that, I encourage you to move forward with. Okay. All right. So let's do one more on the personal. On you, is this you connecting with yourself? Maybe. Okay. Oh no, it's the death card. And here we have another water card.
Resurrection.
Well, you know what? This card is resurrection, and this card is the change. So, and I love that then you put that in there, because then it's like the resurrection comes after the death card. So the death card is about transformation. It's about like a lot of it. It's like if you can take baths and do scrubs or something. It's rarely a literal death. Okay. And I've read this card where it was like for this woman who was worried about her son. And I'm like, oh my God, is her son gonna die? You know, so it could be that, but in this case, it's not that. This is about the transformation. So all of these projects that you're going through, you know, of taking the blogs, the gems from Jim, you know, and the rest of humanity rising, going in your garden, writing the book. This is what's most important to me is that this is a place where you're transforming. And back to the issues of community and the issues of the world, you know, like I just can't stand it. I don't know anyone who I don't talk to or see going, and the world, what's going on? Climate change, you know, Gaza and Israel, Ukraine. It's just like it's so devastating. But you know, and I'll be like really blunt, is that the least, if we can be right in ourselves, then we're going to be right in the community, and we're going to be right in you know, where then our issues aren't going to come up. So that's why this is important. Okay,
Well,
so that's it.
what I do know, Miriam, about what's going on in the world is that change needs to happen. And it's not going to happen by our wishing it so. And the conflict is allowing that to be rectified. I think it's real. As horrible as war is, it is allowing the resolution of past wrongs.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, we can go on, and I hope that all of you who are on can take that in. And I'm gonna see if Deanna's around. And that was just
That
beautiful.
was
And
so good, Miriam. That was so good. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. You're so welcome. And so here, what we're going to do is have our dancer. If you ever do this with me, forget about, you know, dancing the way that Dehanna does. And some people who do this, like literally, remember we had that one woman who would come to class she was so outrageous. And she would do these things like put on these costumes and yell and move. And, you know, and she actually did a 7 of cups. She upped the ante of the groups. But here we go, Dehanna. And so
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Shannon. That was really very deep, and honored to have you on with your reading. Thank you so much.
Dehanna, thank you so much for making it possible. This is such a rare occurrence, and I do appreciate it so much. Miriam, you are wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And Shannon, I just want to say that when we talked about this, we just said, Deanna's like, Shannon's coming on. I don't care. So that's what she said.
And
And
Jim.
Shannon, before you go, I'm trying to remember, you're as busy as a one-armed what?
A one-armed paper hanger in a hurricane.
One-armed paper hanger. That's the first time I've heard. That's pretty busy.
A one arm. Pretty busy.
That's pretty busy.
You thought you were busy, Jim. I know he needs to leave early today, but
Really? Good.
okay. So I'm ready. I'm going to actually play a little music for my cards, but again, it was the 8, 9, and 10 of air. So we heard what that meant a little bit. And I'm going to just start with this cozy thing, and I'm going to turn on my music thing. So I just wanted to end with the thigh brushing for everybody. If you can see me, pull my screen down a little bit. So all you're doing is moving the energy off the front of your thighs and also the back of your thighs. And that gets fire going. I always end with a little knee circle for grounding it with earth, getting the synovial fluid going. So that is a polarity energy exercise for balancing. But, you know, the props I used, remember the cards are about air. I covered myself with a dark scarf and then I opened it up, let that go. Go ahead, Miriam.
Okay, so what did you feel in your body?
Well, a lot of air. I definitely felt a lot of air.
Open those windows.
Yeah, right. The energy needed to leave, you know, some compression that started, you know, with that kind of hermity thing. And then just opening it up was really important. And also I found that this was, I needed some guidance from nature, and this is a deer antler. So I brought that in like I had antenna, you know, picking up new energy from the universe to give me the grounding and the fire that I needed to come out of my head. And the song was Where I Find My Mind. So I needed that too. I needed to find my mind in a different level.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's cool. Okay, thank you so much for being so willing to do that. I think Jim needs
Yeah,
to
we're going to
leave.
bring Jim on a little early because he has to leave 5 minutes earlier. So what do you think, Jim? What a
I think, and I'm going to
session.
put my information here.
Sure.
Hi, Jim.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Always good to see you again on our program. Each time I learn a little bit more, and both respect you and the tarot
Yeah.
and its relationship to polarity and movement. That was really beautiful, Dehanna. Thank you. It takes a lot of courage to do what you just did and just get up in front of God and everybody.
Well, you all witnessed me, right? It's about being
And
witnessed.
move around, particularly in Western culture. We're so stiff and disconnected, just sort of as a matter of culture.
Yeah.
That when someone breaks through like you do, it's always beautiful to behold. I want to just get your sense, Miriam, on the issue of, you know, how the tarot kind of experience compares in your mind with polarity and the other disciplines that you've brought in. And I ask it in the spirit that each therapeutic practice sort of has its own tonality, its own uniqueness. And given the fact that you're conversant in a number, I wonder how you would distill down the particular quality of tarot, as opposed to, for example, the particular quality of polarity, knowing that they're interactive and interchangeable and synergistic. But I just would love to hear you on that, because that would be very interesting.
Okay, the two things that come up for me with that question is one is that they're both systems that, or at least how tarot has evolved, not just with me, but a lot of people, is empowering people. So polarity is always going to like have people help them be aware and make their own choices, you know, but yet still and also to be witnessed. And they all relate to, you know, like polarity relates to Ayurveda and to astrology. So all of these systems, if you can get them to step down, then they get distilled, and they both for me, they influence each other. So it's sort of like whatever you want to bring in. Like to me, polarity is this container for whatever you do. So even if you're like a massage therapist and like polarity is about being with someone's energy and massage is about doing, but sometimes that's a way into the energy. And tarot then is a way into the energy. So it's a way into like someone going, oh yeah, I relate to that. I get that. Or you come into a bodywork session and you say, well, how is this, how does this, what's going on? And then I'll go, let's just pull a couple of cards. And I don't always do this, but I do it rather often. And so what I'll do is I'll pull a card or two, or pull a 4-card, do four card spreads. And then that will open them up to talk about something else and to get it expressed. And polarity does the same thing. Like someone could be, because everything then there's qualities of energy. They're both such rich systems. And to me, they go hand in hand. And to me, tarot is just like, is my tool that I'm bringing to the polarity container.
And what would you say, Dehanna?
As far as polarity being
How would you
in parallel.
distill down the differences between those two?
Well, the great thing about polarity is it's the big paradigm for all, different methodologies underneath. And this particular method, the tarot, for me is ether, the mother element, and which all other elements are under. So the ether is universal. It's cosmic. It's like moving beyond space and time. It's holding wisdom in a field of information, which is Kala Perkins cosmology. It's Jude Caravan's the center of creation is information. It's like, oh, we're going to tap into the wisdom of the universe when we use the cards. And then the beauty of Miriam's method, which I've never ever heard of a somatic tarot model, is that she's weaved then the elements under Mother or ether of air, fire, water, earth into movement, into a somatic expression of the wisdom of Mother Ether. So it's just a beautiful combination.
It's just connecting the dots and connecting them a little further. So for me, with the tarot, it's sort of like you can connect any way that you can connect. Like if you know something about the chakras, then the chakras offer something that you can learn from the tarot. Or if you know tarot, then you can learn something about astrology. Like I am not an astrologer, and yet I know something about astrology, mostly through polarity therapy and through tarot. So that's where all of those systems connect. And, as Shannon was saying, like how it was talking about connecting, like the more that we can connect, that the better off that we are. And and Heather, it's on the top of my tongue. There's a person who wrote a book, and maybe before the after chat, I'll remember who that person is. But there is someone who then connected. And if that's a way that you can connect it, then that's a way that you can use this tool. If we go back to like the beginning of unlocking intuition, if what we have is listening to our heart, and how do we transform our insights? How do we unlock that? Is by going to a tool. Is going to tools that we really need to we can access in order to helping ourselves and helping, both Shannon and Dehanna. It was more about like, how can you connect? How do you connect? And that's the way that I found that, and
Mhm.
to make this tool an easier, it can just go on. I am still like a tarot student.
Yeah,
I'm
of
still
course.
learning. And, like, I love, like, there was one time there was someone in a class who, she was this young woman, and she looked at the page of swords or the page of air. And to her, that was a communication, and it was about texting. So,
Who'd have thunk?
I'm like, wow.
Shannon, you have a comment?
I have my own cards. But Jim, I thought you might be interested in knowing that there are many decks.
Yeah.
This is the Archeo, and it's based on archetypes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I helped to edit one on healing with ki. And that is a way of tapping into the body. And,
Yeah,
Miriam and Deanna, both of you, you might be interested in that one. Yeah. So
fantastic.
yeah, the tools that are being developed now for this now time are really, really powerful.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then we get gifted with such people as Deanna and Miriam and Jim. Look at you. Oh
And
my
Shannon.
gosh. The way that you have been designed and that you play with the elements of who you are, I really appreciate you. And that's why I tied myself to your star.
Whoa. Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind. Very kind. Well, that's a nice thought, everyone, to I think end with. I want to thank you, Shannon, for your presence and your ongoing support and enthusiasm and day by day by day. I just want to acknowledge Shannon MacArthur, everybody.
And Stan too.
And Stan Pokras. Yeah, Shannon and Stan. They are the two pillars upon which Humanity Rising rests. And I would include you too, Deanna. You've probably convened as many programs as anyone, and your sessions are always well attended and professionally transacted. Today with Miriam. Miriam, thank you for your wisdom. There's
Yeah.
deep wisdom in
Thank you, Miriam.
what you presence in
Thank
our
you so much for having
session.
me again.
Yeah.
Can you join the after chat, dear?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
I
cool.
will.
Cool. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Well, that'll bring us to a close for today, everyone. You'll see the link to the after chat in the chat box. You can join Miriam and Deanna for a more extended conversation. And then Deanna, tee us up for tomorrow.
So finishing out the week, I kind of went from the somatic energies all the way into the mental field and universal field. And we're going to continue with the universal field of mental imagery, which is an ancient model that goes back to the Mesopotamian era. And we're going to have Rachel Epstein, Dr. Jerry Epstein's widow, on talking about, she has some imagery. She wrote a book for war relief that I thought maybe be of interest to you, Jim, with the Hamas or the Gaza conflict. So we're going to delve into the mental imagery, mental medicine for all of us tomorrow.
Fantastic. Good. Thank you, everyone. That'll bring us to a close.
Thank you, Jim.
See you tomorrow. Bye for now.
And I'll see anyone in the after chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.